So I'm talking to you through some social media platform, which is a double-sided resource these days. Myself personally, I have admittedly been binging on social media, mainly to stay informed because I'm currently in Spain, so I'm not in my home state, I'm not in my home country, and I want to know what's going on surrounding the protests in the United States against police brutality, largely stemming from the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd in concession. And even though I'm binge watching all of these videos, it's so triggering. It's so traumatic. It's watching a country at war with its people. And it's been a calculated, long-standing war against Black people. But to have to see images of people who look like you, that could be your family, friends, spouses, neighbors, shot down in the street, strangled in the street, killed in their own homes, beaten, bloodied, time after time. It's exhausting, it's traumatic, and we're not okay. If you know any Black person, doesn't matter if they're your friend, they're not okay. We're expected to keep watching these images of our community being lynched, their lives discarded, and have to function, have to go out in the world and address people and have business meetings and conversations. And it's a lot going on for Black people right now. They're traumatized, they're tired, they're hurt. But I can't stop watching. Like, I have to be informed about what's going on. I can't pretend like these things aren't happening. And neither can you. To see the response of the police to this video that has outraged a nation, outraged the world. This video is the epitome of the oppression in the United States. A white officer nonchalantly, with his hands in his pockets, kneeing on a Black man's neck while he cries out that he can't breathe for over 8 minutes. Malcolm X said it decades ago. It's not a chip on my shoulder, it's your knee on my neck. And we have this video come out, and somehow people are just coming to realize the level of oppression and violence against Black people in the United States. I've discussed this in blogs and in videos on my YouTube channel, that largely my decision to leave the United States was because every single morning I was waking up watching videos of Black men, Black women, Black children being murdered by police, unarmed, unprovoked. This was 2014 to 16. Trayvon Martin was even before that. So I ask, how did you just figure out there's racial injustice and police brutality against people of color, Black people in the United States? We've all seen the videos. This is nothing new. This is the exact situation that Eric Garner was in when he cried out, "I can't breathe," at the hands of a police officer. And what happened to this police officer? He was just let go from the police force. It took years for this to happen. And in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, the men who shot him in the street, treating his life like that of an animal, like they were hunting deer on the side of the road, those men went unpunished and unbothered for months until the video of his death was released. So justice is not being served because Black lives are being valued. Justice is being served because of the outcry of people that this is just plain wrong. And I've been going through my social media feed almost daily, looking at people, what they're posting, what they're not posting, their comments. Like, I have all the time. I have time now. I am sitting here on this island, supposed to be living my best life, and instead I'm crying, stressed, angry, depressed, frustrated, sad, grieving. And when I see people who aren't saying a single word, who aren't joining in solidarity because it doesn't personally affect them, it's a slap in the face. You're completely ignoring your country on fire. Even if you don't know a single Black person, people's lives are being lost, people's rights are being violated, and you say nothing. Business as usual for you. Selfies and barbecues and photos of your food, like nobody cares. People are being beaten and murdered in the streets down the road from you because there's protests in all 50 states. And you're completely unbothered. Like, I can't understand the mentality. The complete disregard for human life and human rights. Because it's not you, it's not your friends, it's not your family. Because these people don't look like you. They're human beings too. And I'm wearing this shirt for all of those people who have said nothing. Just no to you, to your voluntary ignorance. No. And I have all the time in the world to check social media pages, comments, reply, and I've been having a lot of really lovely conversations with people, very respectfully, informing them of their incorrect stance on certain issues, or maybe their unknowledgeable stance on certain issues. I had a young man say to me on a post that was discussing defunding the police. And he said, if something happens to me and we defund the police, who do I call? And this brings me to a video that I just watched moments ago. I think this is an example of doing more to help each other out. Not all of us want to put our lives in danger, but say something. Draw attention to the fact that you see something wrong happening. Prevent it from escalating and getting worse. But I just watched a video of this young woman. I don't even know where she was in the country, but she was definitely in the United States. Police officers were confronting her and she said, I wasn't driving a car. There was an incident with a vehicle and the police were swarming her, and one officer was grabbing her, pulling her clothes down. Her breasts were out. There were a group of Black men surrounding these police officers, screaming at them, doing their best to protect this woman, knowing the interactions that most police have with Black men, especially screaming in their face. Where are the female officers? Why are you grabbing her? Why are you choking her? Her breasts are out. Let her go. And this girl is screaming, crying, why are they grabbing me? Why are they grabbing me? And then they get her on the ground and start beating her. The camera turns around to her face and it's full of blood. There's blood all over the ground. Because of what? Because of a vehicle violation? Black people's lives are being taken, threatened over counterfeit bills, loose cigarettes, running, being in a car accident, sleeping. I want you to think to yourself, if you are not a black person, how would you feel if you were laying in bed at night and police came, shot up your apartment, killed your partner, killed you, and they weren't arrested, and you did nothing wrong? You were literally sleeping in your own home, or you were walking in your grandmother's backyard with your cell phone, or you were out for a jog and someone shot you dead. You're not safe anywhere being a black person in America. There's so many different arguments to try and deter attention or validity away from Black Lives Matter and the movement surrounding this statement, which I don't understand how anyone fights on. The go-to, the favorite, is all lives matter, right? And we're all, hopefully, people who understand the sky is blue, grass is generally green. We all understand simple, basic things. Facts, if you will, right? So if your counter argument to Black Lives Matter is that all lives matter, if black people aren't safe in their homes, on the streets, anywhere in America, then black people don't feel like their lives matter. If you can receive the death penalty at the hands of an officer while you're sleeping in your bed, while you're going for a jog, while you're shopping, while you're protesting, and nothing happens to the person that took your life, the message is not that Black Lives Matter. People are losing their lives. Black people are losing their lives at an alarming rate. Being killed by the police is leading cause of death for black men in America. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the last decade have been killed by police, unarmed and unprovoked. It's exhausting to endure the ignorance that I see on social media. It's in the minds of people who can't understand that if you don't educate yourself on the history of the United States, like, that's your own responsibility. That's your own decision to remain ignorant about the history of the United States. But I gather that most of us know about slavery. I can't imagine how you don't. You know there were Jim Crow laws in the United States. You know that there was a civil rights movement. And black people have been fighting, marching, protesting, putting their lives and their bodies on the line, on the front lines of these protests, for equality, to stay alive, to be seen as equal for too long. Black people contribute to much of the content that you watch, the music that you listen to, the technology that's being developed or that has been. And Black people feel like their bodies are being monetized by prominent figures, while they're also being ridiculed. We're being ridiculed for our hair, for the width of our noses, for the size of our lips, for the shapes of our bodies. We're being stereotyped. We're being harassed. We're being devalued. And then you turn around and make money off of Black people's culture, their features, their creations. It's exhausting. I moved away from the United States because I thought it would help me not feel as angry and as sad and as frustrated and as helpless when I see images and videos of Black people being beaten, shot, strangled to death. It doesn't help. I've had a lot of people say to me, good thing you're not in the country, and it's actually worse because I don't have a community here of people who understand what I'm going through. And very few people have reached out to me to see how I'm doing, but I've had some really amazing people contact me to check in, to be supportive, to remind me to take care of myself, to shut off social media, which is nearly impossible. I can't. Like, I can't stop watching what's happening in the U.S. The U.S. is on fire. It's at war. It's leaderless. It's divided. But when something burns down, it's an opportunity to rebuild better. And I can't say that's going to happen in my lifetime, but I really hope that if you haven't voted in your primaries, if you haven't done anything, now is the time to start. I'm not asking you to go to a protest and get shot by rubber bullets for peacefully protesting, or get tear gassed or shot in the face and lose an eye. I'm not asking you to do all of those things that are happening in the United States against U.S. citizens who are peacefully protesting police brutality. How ironic. I'm asking you to save lives. People, Black people, but people of all colors who are supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, who are fed up with this oppression and the denial of the oppression, are losing their lives. Black people just want to live. That's all they want. They want to be left alone. They want to be given the consideration of due process that white people are given in America. Someone shoots up a school, they get handcuffed, taken away for their day in court. When a Black person is suspected of writing a bad check, they get suffocated to death for 8.5 minutes. If you cannot see what's wrong with that, you are part of the problem. If you're not doing anything to stop this from happening, you are part of the problem. If you are silent, you are part of the problem. If you live in the U.S., if you don't live in the U.S., if you live in the U.S., register to vote. Sign petitions, donate, volunteer, educate yourself. If you don't live in the U.S., you can do all the same things, minus voting, but also reflect on what's happening in your own countries. I'm living in Spain now. I lived in Berlin. I know of people in both places, or I'm watching the news in both places, and I have friends from France, and your countries are not absolved of racism either. So take a look at the daily things that you can do to educate yourself and to have uncomfortable conversations with the people in your inner circle. If you hear someone making a racist joke, if you hear someone singing the N-word, which happened a lot in Berlin, you love our culture, you love our music, you love our shows, you love our style, you want to date us, and you need to support us now to prevent more people's lives from being lost. Be aware, be awake, show your support. However you choose to do it, do something. It's 2020. We all have access to the internet. It's not up to your black friends, your brown friends, your LGBTQ friends to educate you on the oppressions happening around the world. And we've all done a really terrible job and turned a blind eye to what's happening in other countries. And I hope that we are the generation, our generation, my generation, the generation below me, and the generations to come are the ones who can change this world, because it's rotten. And I think that we've all dropped the ball on being there for each other. It's not my problem, so I don't do anything. I turn a blind eye when I hear someone in distress. I see someone on the street struggling in a situation that looks dangerous, and I do nothing. I keep walking. And I think that we've all failed each other. I am my brother's keeper. Because I've been wanting to do a video for a really long time. I feel like social media is inundated with content, and it's like, why do I need to keep talking? But if one person that follows me watches this video, I think it will spark a good discussion. If you've watched all the way through, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we have to do better. We have to be better. And we have to vote in people, do the research, and vote in people who are going to enact the change that we want to see in the country, and vote out people who are letting police brutality go unpunished, allotting more resources to police than they are to the communities. We have to vote these people out. Change is gonna come. Just seems to be coming much slower and at the expense of a lot of lives, but I have faith. I have to have faith that change will come. Okay, thanks for watching, and be good to each other.